Welcome to my mini lecture on Brenda Iijima's poetry, specifically from her collection Relaxation Time, which we could find in our textbook, Big Energy Poets, on pages 103 to 104. As the Poetry Foundation informs us, Iijima's work addresses the subjects of science, gender, ecology, and history. Some of her collected works include Around Sea from 2004, Animate Inanimate Aims 2007, Subsistence Equipment 2008, Revolution from 2009. In that title, we could see how Iijima plays with language, defamiliarizes words, right? We see, obviously, we hear the word revolution in revolution, but this defamiliarization broaches what does revolution mean in the Anthropocene. If not metamorphic from 2010, and perhaps of greatest interest to us in the context of this course, the Eco-Language Reader from 2010, which she edited, which brings together a collection of essays by poets reflecting on the intersection of ecology and aesthetic. The reflection that we are going to discuss this week is from Relaxation Time, and as Iijima defines for us in the Process and Poetics section, which you can find on page 106, relaxation time is a scientific term that refers to the time delay that can occur when a species is on the brink of extinction, a species that might continue to exist for a long duration before experiencing total failure. This time delay is referred to as relaxation time. So a few things to maybe highlight in this quote. One is perhaps the challenge to dominant narratives of extinction, right, where we imagine it as this precipitous decline into extinction. But as science teaches us, there could be this long delay before a species experiences total failure, total loss. So this relaxation time might seem like this everything is okay, right? That the species is not in danger. There's this delay. So scientifically, we could know the species is on the brink of collapse. But from an empirical perspective, from an everyday perspective, that species might be doing fine. There's a delay. And this brings up this really profound philosophical problem of this delay or this incompatibility between the way we experience the world through our senses and scientific knowledge. Again, our sensory perception, if we go out into the forest, is that there are myriad species that might seem to be fine or even flourishing. But this term, this relaxation time, educates us that our senses may be, and in fact are, deceiving us, a theme that informs her poetry, which we'll see in a moment. The selection we're going to be analyzing collectively, beginning on page 103, begins, "The mountain looks." No, it can't be adequately disclosed nor described. It wasn't long, and the trees were almost completely felled, even the trees that grew on the more precariously sloped and craggy precipices. So, to highlight a few points about this opening stanza, the first line, "The mountain looks," the first three words, I think, invite us to enter a familiar poetic terrain. The mountain looks. It seems as if we're entering the genre of romantic poetry, where the speaker might wax poetic about how sublime, about how awesome the mountains are. But this romantic beginning, this romantic invitation, is soon thwarted with the dash, the ellipses, and then the pause, right? These in brackets. It's as if this familiar genre, this outpouring of emotions about being in nature, is jammed in multiple ways, right? We have again both the em dash, the ellipses, and a bracketed pause. And that could seem like stage directions, as if a totally different media is interrupting. But this whole line of thought, this whole romantic gesture of looking at mountains is thwarted. And let's think about why. Romanticism is not just a genre, but a way of seeing the world. In its dominant form, Romanticism um, allows this dangerous perspective, which is at the center of the Anthropocene or the capitalist scene, where humanity goes to nature and perceives nature as something beyond humanity or beyond society. Right. So, if you will, if you want to reduce Romanticism in its dominant form, it's predicated on the binary of capital N nature and capital S society. And again, nature is something outside or external to humanity. So you can go to nature in either, and all the ways you describe it or don't describe it, it's as if you're in awe or as if it has nothing to do with human activity. Where the truth is, we're in a post romantic age. That's one way to critically think about the Anthropocene, that these beautiful landscapes are not outside of humanity, but our activities and economies are actively destroying all geographies, an insight that's at the center of and animating Iijima's work. After all the jamming, the grammatical jammings of this romantic gesture, the mountain looks as if our language can describe how we're feeling or the majestic, awesome nature of the mountain. The second line questions and negates our ability to represent mountains. No, it can't be adequately disclosed nor described. Mountains are beyond, nature is beyond representation. And that may still be a romantic gesture. But let's continue. It wasn't long, and the trees were almost completely felled. Even the trees that grew on the more precariously sloped and craggy precipices. We get the seeds of what's happening in the third line. The trees were almost completely felled. Um, but the way it's written, we still might be in this romantic space. The trees might have fallen, but there's no active agent that's responsible for felling these trees. In fact, we see the passive voice that's hiding. Who's the agency that's destroyed so many trees? And as we move into the second and third stanza, we see that the speaker is witnessing the Anthropocene, the death of nature and ecology because of our activities and economy. Skipping to the third stanza and a little bit of the fourth stanza, little grows in a seared ecology with the disastrous erosion that resulted from land raising processes. A huge swath of land became a dead zone, and the people who foraged around the mountain also had to disperse. There is no more relaxation time, I want to suggest. This is a seared ecology. Um, we have destroyed this land. And it's not just one species that might be on the brink of collapse. We're in the midst of the sixth extinction, of the great sixth extinction, as we've discussed in class. And I love this fourth stanza, that in this dead zone, again, it's not just the non-human animal world that's going into distinction, but also the human communities whose very existence was predicated on the natural world for sustenance, for medicine, for spiritual practices. So I want us to collectively continue to read Relaxation Time and think about what type of intervention Iijima is making. How is she making us see this ecology not just as a dead zone, but what pockets of relaxation time still exists? How may our senses still deceive us? And how do we learn to see the world around us, even though it may look beautiful, as, quote unquote, a dead zone?